Hello, everyone. I'm going to, oh, my video's disconnected. We are going to go through the other half of chapter 13 today in Lessons in Tanya. Lessons in Tanya is a commentary, is the Tanya plus a commentary that is in this gray box here. And we are in Likutei Amarim, which is a section of the Tanya, the first part of the Tanya, chapter 13. Last week we talked a lot about prayer and the importance of prayer and how it unifies you completely during the prayer, and also it leaves a like residue of that unity even after you leave prayer, which is very, very awesome. And you probably experienced it if you've ever prayed. Let's see here. So we talked about the difference. We ended between the difference between a tzaddik and a benoni. How the tzaddik nullifies and transforms the evil within him, but the benoni kind of just, he doesn't nullify or transform it. He just kind of keeps it on the wrap. He just keeps it wrapped up, so to speak. It still exists within him. He just suppresses it. As with every, I think we left here. As with every faculty, constant use of the animal soul causes it to become even stronger than it was at birth. The Alter Rebbe thus concludes that the words "consider yourself like a Rasha" mean that one must consider himself a Benoni. The above applies even to those who have reached a lofty spiritual level. They too should consider themselves Benoni. For should one consider himself a tzaddik and maintain that the evil within him has already been nullified by the good, he will cease to do battle with the evil. If he is mistaken and is not in fact a tzaddik, such an unfounded attitude can cause him to slip drastically from his level, descending even lower than the level of the Benoni to that of the Rasha. So the intermediate man compared to the evil man. And so yeah, it's like taking your soldiers away from the gates, so to speak. You don't want to do that. Until now, we have been speaking of a working man who does not have the opportunity to spend all his time in Torah study and divine service. Now, the discussion turns to the individual who spends all his time immersed in the study of Torah. So immersed in the study of Torah, that is probably Osek B'Torah, which is that deep, unified, invested type of study where you're fully immersed in the material. Even if one's entire aspiration is in God's Torah, which he studies day and night for its own sake, lishma. Remember the term lishma. This is still no proof whatsoever that the evil has been dislodged from its place. Perhaps rather, the essence and substance of the evil are in their full strength and might in its abode in the and might in. I don't. Am I not reading this right, or did they goof here? Perhaps rather, the essence and substance of the evil are in their full strength and might in its abode. Oh, might as in strength. I was might not as in probability.
It seems a little redundant, doesn't it? Might,
Yeah,
strength and might. There's something going on right there. What's it in the Hebrew? Is
yeah.
there?
Let's see here.
Should have been a comma in there also.
Yeah, and their strength and might. Substance and the hue. The bitik. I don't know what that word is. Uh, right there. Oh, oh my goodness, come on. In effect, in his strength and in effect. The essence and the substance, there's that, in their full strength and effect.
James, it's the word that was right after that. It says uh, ve gevu
Yeah,
ra
well,
gevuroti
yeah,
gevuroto.
that's Gevura.
That's the strength.
Yeah, and valor.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it's
In his place.
Make
So this is it. This is the word that is might, but I don't think that's like
Guru could be din and judgment, in a sense,
yeah.
in or
In the modern
a heavy din.
Hebrew, it says in effect. So evil are in their full effect and strength, and in its place in the left part of the heart. So in other words, it's still in its strength and effect. It's just subdued.
I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't think you're right. I don't think might is the right or strength or full
I mean,
effect.
it could be a heavy din. It could be harsh din.
Yeah, it could,
in effect.
Yeah, it could be.
I don't know, but when you see that
Particularly from
configuration
the
like that,
left, yeah.
you see that from the English, and you see that when you see stuff like that in the English, we're not getting the correct understanding.
100%. Yeah, and you miss the Iker terms, you miss the like phrases that get repeated that your brain you develop synapses to, in the neural network. So these Iker terms, like well, even here, and the essence and substance, the hiyut, perhaps rather the, yeah, and so atzmo, so the essence, etzem.
Let's see how
maybe it's supposed to say, perhaps rather the essence and substance of evil are in their full judgment in
Maybe,
its abode in the left part of the heart. Maybe,
yeah.
and maybe it's not supposed to, like you were saying, Russell, maybe that area of the heart is under constant judgment.
Mm-hmm.
magistrate or judge who gives. I'm trying to read how Steinsaltz translated it. Of course, he don't put the Hebrew with it, so it's hard to tell if I'm in the right
where
place.
you are. Yeah.
Mine has the Hebrew with it. Where are you at, Russell?
Well, I was in chapter 13, but let's see, are we talking about, let me see what it says in here.
Perhaps rather the essence and substance of the evil or in the full strength and might.
Yeah, hold on. Perhaps. All right, the evil, similarly, the evil nature states its opinion in the left part of the heart, which thence ascends to the brain for contemplation. Immediately, it is challenged by the second judge and the divine soul in the brain, extending into the right part of the heart, the abode of the good nature. The final verdict comes from the arbitrator, the Holy One, blessed be he, who comes to aid of the good nature. As our sages said, if the Almighty did not help him, he could not overcome his evil inclination. Is that where we were?
No, that was from last week.
Oh, I'm still too far back. But there's the idea of that judgment in the context. Yet
What can I add this real quick while you're looking at that, Russell?
okay.
It says, thereby generating love for God as fierce as sparks of fire in the right chamber of one's heart, whereupon the citra aqua in the left chamber is subdued. And then the evil is not completely nullified in the Benoni, only in the Zadik, regarding whom the verse states, my heart is hollow within me. And excuse me. And let's see, but with regard to the Benoni, the evil is analogous, yeah, I can't pronounce it right, to someone who is sleeping and can be awakened from his sleep. Excuse me. And it is compared to the rank of the righteous who serve God with absolute truth. Thus, the level of the love achieved by the Benoni is not called true service at all, since it's fleeting and is gone after prayers and is written. The language of truth will be established forever, but a tongue of falsehood is only for a moment.
I think I found it here. It says, however, in its essence and substance, the divine soul in the Benoni has no preponderance over the animal soul, except at the time when his love for God manifests itself in his heart.
That's way too much. I don't think that's the proper one.
Well, it had that essence and substance in it. But yeah, that's too much.
It's not very literal.
And I don't think he is literal in here, like we see in the version that you're studying from.
Yeah.
I don't think Steinsaltz is that. There's a lot more in here than there is in there, is what I'm trying to say. So I don't know if surely he's not interjecting into the translation here, because that's what I'm reading. I'm not reading his commentary. I'm reading his so
Taka means to hit. So I would say in its full force and strength. Perhaps rather the essence and substance of the evil are in their full force and strength in its place in the left part of the heart.
that makes as much sense to me as that I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I would probably translate that as.
Sheer strength of the animal soul.
So it gives breadth to the Gevura, basically. It's saying it's fully expanded. It's like it's there. It's not just even. Alrighty, I'm going to go ahead and read about this garments here. Let us know, Russell, if you find.
Okay, I'll still be looking for it. Yeah.
Alrighty. Except that its garments. So we're talking about the animal soul or the Russia, the evil one. We'll see here. Except that its garments, namely the thought, speech, and action of the animal soul. Okay, we are talking about the Nefesh Behemoth, the animal soul, are not invested in the brain, mouth, and hands and other parts of the body. Oh, So the animal soul is not invested in the brain. It's just going to be in that left part of the heart, which is going to be good, probably because the Nefesh Elokis, the godly soul, is in the right part of the brain, or excuse me, the right part of the heart and the brain. So its circumference is all, and it can use the heart to pump to all. And okay, so the animal soul is in the brain, is not invested in the brain, mouth, and hands and other parts of the body to think and do that which is forbidden, because God has granted the mind supremacy and dominion over the heart. Therefore, the divine soul, the Nefesh Elokis, in the mind rules over the small city, i.e., over all the parts of the body, making them the body's organs, serve as a garment and vehicle, i.e., as a means of expression, garment that is totally subservient to its user, as is a vehicle to its rider. Thus, because of its God-given supremacy, the divine soul is able to use the body's organs as a garment and vehicle, through which its three garments, namely the thought, speech, and action of the Torah's 613 commandments, are expressed, clothed. Taryag mitzvot. This is numeric. Well, it's a numerical value. Taryag is 613. 613 commandments. It may be then that with regard to this individual's thinking and speaking words of Torah and performing the mitzvot, the divine soul rules over the body. In this area, the divine soul has the upper hand, and the animal soul is subservient. So you have the power. Excuse me. However, in its essence and substance, the divine soul has no preponderance over the essence and substance of the animal soul. In the case of a Benoni, except at those times when his love for God manifests itself in his heart. Okay, wow. So the Alter Rebbe kind of came full circle there. Well, I don't know about full circle, but he came circling back into this love of God that he's talked about, I think, since chapter 1. On propitious occasions, such as during prayer and the like. Then, as mentioned in the previous chapter, the Benoni is aroused to a burning love of God that causes the evil of the animal soul to be nullified before the goodness of the divine soul. Even then, during those times when the divine soul gains the upper hand over the animal soul, it is limited to preponderance and dominion alone, i.e., the divine soul, the Nefesh Elokis, succeeds in dominating the animal soul, not in vanquishing it in the sense of nullifying its essence. So it just binds it, shackles it. As is written of the battle between Yaakov and Esav, allegorically representing the war between the good and evil in man's soul, and one nations shall prevail over the other. Yaakov exemplified the good, merely prevails. Yaakov, exemplifying the good, merely prevails over Esav, the evil, but does not succeed in totally vanquishing him. This agrees with our sage's comment on this verse. When this one rises and prevails, that one falls. And when that one rises, this one falls. The animal soul, although it had fallen during prayer, is afterward able to rise and rally once again, indicating that the divine soul had not succeeded in vanquishing it, even during prayer, for which reason even its Dominance is only temporary.
We need to look at that footnote.
Footnote 8. Based on a note by the Rebbe, the Rebbe explains thereby why the Alter Rebbe quotes only half of the second phrase. When this one referring to the divine soul rises, that one, the animal soul, falls. And when that one, the animal soul, rises, without concluding the part of the quotation that deals with the divine soul. The Alter Rebbe's purpose in quoting the second phrase is to show that the animal soul should rise once again, though it had fallen during prayer. The rest of the phrase is thus irrelevant here. Thus, the Nefesh Elokis, the divine soul, gains strength and ascendancy over the animal soul in the source of strength. Gevurot, which is understanding. Bina. Okay, there you go, Russell. You were onto something.
Yeah.
In the Kabbalah's description of the Sefirot, Bina is the source of Gevura. In terms of one's divine soul, this means that the source of its strength, Gevura, to combat the animal soul, is found in its faculty of understanding, Bina, the faculty with which it understands the greatness of God. Thus, when the divine soul gains strength over the animal soul during prayer, pondering on the greatness of God, the blessed Ein Sof, and thereby giving birth to intense and flaming love of God in the right part of his heart, and then, when the divine soul dominates the animal soul with its intense and revealed love of God, the Sitra Achra, the evil of the animal soul, that other side in the left part of the heart, is subjugated. But it is not entirely abolished in the case of the Benoni. It is so only in a tzaddik, concerning whom it is said, "My heart is void within me." The word hallel has two meanings, void and slain. The Rebbe points out that the Alter Rebbe understands the hallel of this verse to mean void. This may be referred from chapter 1, where he interprets the verses meaning that he, David HaMelech, had no Yetzer Hara. The Alter Rebbe continues there, for he had slain it through fasting. Only as added explanation, not in order to interpret the word hallel, to indicate that David had not attained the level of Avraham Avinu, who had transformed his Yetzer Hara, as stated in the Yerushalayim Talmud and Berachot chapter 9. David had merely slain it. In the case of Avraham Avinu, his heart was indeed not void, but in fact, this was his virtue. His heart still housed the Yetzer Hara, but that Yetzer Hara had undergone such a metamorphosis that it was now a Yetzer Tov. From Rashi's commentary on Berachot, which is a tractate in the Talmud, however, and also from the plain sense of the Yerushalayim Talmud, it appears that the meaning of Hallel is slain. Commentaries on this verse in Psalms, Tehillim, cite both interpretations. Okay. The abode in the heart, usually occupied by the evil inclination, is void in the heart of a tzaddik. He, the tzaddik, despises and loathes evil within evil with a consummate hatred if he is a complete tzaddik, or without quite such utter hatred if he is an incomplete tzaddik, as explained in chapter 10. All the above applies to the tzaddik, but in a Benoni, the evil merely lies dormant, as with a sleeping man, for example, who can awaken from his sleep at any time and reactivate his faculties. So is the evil in the Benoni dormant, as it were, in the left part of the heart, not functioning at all, not even desiring physical pleasures. During the recital of the Shema and Amida, when his heart is aglow with the love of God, causing the evil of the animal soul to be dormant. Therefore, after prayer, it can reawaken. The Alter Rebbe will now describe an even higher level of Benoni, one who is permeated throughout the day with the same degree of love for God that he feels during prayer. The animal soul of such a Benoni is permanently dormant. Accordingly, we will understand how it was possible for Rabbah to classify himself mistakenly as a Benoni. In chapter 1, it was proven that the term Benoni could not refer, as a literal interpretation would lead us to believe, to a person half of whose deeds are virtuous and half sinful. Were this so, how could such a sage like Rabbah, who never neglected his Torah study for even a moment, make the mistake of classifying himself as a Benoni? However, the Alter Rebbe's definition of Benoni as one who does not sin in practice does not seem to satisfy this difficulty. Indeed, as the Alter Rebbe explained in chapter 12, a Benoni never sins, yet he has sinful desires. Rabbah, who was in fact a tzaddik, must have known full well that he was free of such desire. How then could he even mistakenly classify himself as a Benoni? According to the discussion which now follows concerning the level of the Benoni who never even desires evil, this matter is readily understood. For this reason, Rabbah considered himself a Benoni, though his mouth never ceased from Torah study. And his desire was in studying God's Torah day and night with a craving, desire, and longing. His soul yearning for God with overwhelming love, such as that experienced during the recitation of the Shema and the Amidah. During Shema and prayer. During prayer, as mentioned above, the Benoni's heart is aroused to a love of God so passionate that he does not feel the evil of his animal soul at all. Rabbah, however, experienced this arousal of love not only during prayer, but throughout the day. Therefore, his animal soul was always dormant, and he never desired mundane matters. It was therefore possible for him to consider himself a Benoni, for he appeared in his own eyes as a Benoni who prays all day, i.e., a Benoni who throughout the day retains the level attained during prayer. As indeed our sages have said, would that a man pray the whole day long. Again, Talmud Bavli, Berachot 21a. Such a Benoni is constantly ablaze with the love of God, and consequently his desire for evil is always dormant, as explained. Therefore, the absence of any evil desires did not conclusively prove to Rabbah that he was a tzaddik. It was still possible for him to maintain that he was a Benoni who prays all day long. What emerges from all that has been said is that even during prayer, when the Benoni succeeds in arousing his love of God and rendering the evil dormant, his divine soul has merely prevailed over his animal soul, but has not vanquished it, for which reason it is possible for this state to cease after prayer. Therefore, the Benoni's level of divine service is not considered truthful when compared to the service of the tzaddik, for truth implies continuity and consistency. The Alter Rebbe goes on to explain that nevertheless, the Benoni's love relative to his standing is considered a true form of service. Now, this aforementioned love attained by Benonim at the time of prayer by virtue of the temporary preponderance of the divine soul over the animal soul, etc. When compared to the standard of the tzaddikim, who serve God in perfect truth, in the truest manner of truth, this love is not called true service at all, since it passes and disappears after prayer. Whereas it is written, the language, literally the lip, Safat, language, lashon, like language means tongue, but there's also a lip. The language, literally the lip of truth, shall be established forever, but the tongue of falsehood is only momentary. So lashon is a lie. Thus, the term truth refers to something immutable. The temporary and passing are not considered true. The same applies here as well, since the Benoni's love of God is felt only during prayer and disappears afterward. It does not measure up to the truest sense of truth, the perfect truth attained by tzaddikim. So, let's see here. Kind of makes me think like there are people that go into seclusion, and maybe they come out thinking they're a tzaddik. But it appears maybe they just have never been tested because they're in seclusion. What they did was they just subdued and did, what is it when you remove all externalities and things like that. Nevertheless, in relation to the rank of the Benoni, this level of love is regarded as a true, perfect service in terms of their level of truth, i.e., the level of the Benonim. In each man, relative to his standing in the category of the Benonim, for as mentioned earlier, the rank of Benoni is subdivided into many levels. Excuse me. Their love too, which they possess only during prayer, I term the language of truth, which shall be established forever. Okay. I.e., their love is true and permanent, though manifest only during prayer. Since their divine soul has the power to reawaken this love constantly, whenever it gathers strength during prayer day after day. So I think the author would be saying that even though that love is fleeting, it's still the true love. It still is that true love. Is that what he's saying? By means of the spiritual preparation appropriate to each soul's quality and rank, the higher the level of the soul, the less preparation it requires to awaken its love of God. Regardless, every soul has the capacity to arouse its love of God during prayer. The Benoni's love of God is thus constant, since it is either in an active, revealed state, or is in potentia and can be revealed at any moment throughout the day. For as mentioned earlier, every Benoni has the potential to attain the level of praying the whole day long. So whistle while you work. One difficulty yet remains. How is it possible for the same level of service to be considered untrue by the standards of tzaddikim and true with regard to Benonim? Is truth not absolute? This matter is now explained as follows. The quality of truth is to be found on every level. In each, truth means the essence and core of that level, i.e., truth is defined as that which agrees with the essence of that particular level where it is measured. That can be applied to science. You create a little world, you create a closed system, and you have little measurements based on that system. And you can measure things based on these units that you've made up. And you could say, well, this is true. This system has reached level 5. And
James?
level 5 is true, but is it really an absolute truth? Yes, Dixie.
Can I interrupt you just for a second about truth? This commentary in the
Stein-Schultz.
Yes. It's about the truth. Sorry. What is truth? Truth has many definitions, but here the author takes the strictest viewpoint. His definition of truth is not about whether someone deceives others or even himself. Rather, truth constitutes that which is established forever that which endures. In that case, the level of love achieved by the Benoni during times of prayer is not considered true service, because that love is fleeting and does not last. Truth is eternal. Something transcendent and given to change cannot be called true. The litmus test of truth is in its endurance, not only under particular conditions, but perpetually.
Right. Very good.
Concepts of truth, incidentally, is rooted in the Hebrew language. The term nakal akzav, literally a deceptive stream, is so called because it does not always flow with water. The Mishnah speaks of a deceptive waters that fall to flow once in 7 years. A single failing once in 7 years places us outside the bounds of truth. Wow.
Ah, we call those jump creeks in Indiana.
Ah.
They dry up from time to time.
It says then also, truth then is synonymous with the eternal. If it is not true forever, in every instance, in every dimension, it is not truth.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you. Let me back up because I kind of forget. The quality of truth is to be found on every level, and each truth means the essence and core of that level. Oh yeah. Okay. Since this is so in all the myriad levels of the spiritual world, so kind of like what Dixie was talking about, from the very highest to the very lowest, and since the lowest levels are incomparable to the highest, how can it be said that the lowest grade possesses truth? We must say, therefore, that the term truth is relative to the level on which it is found, that each grade has its own core of truth. Things are true if they agree with the essence of, their own level, and untrue if they do not, if they need to agree with a higher level to be considered true. In the Alter Rebbe's words, truth is the attribute of Yaakov. As the verse states, you give truth to Yaakov, who is called the middle bolt. The middle bolt, I think I maybe heard that called the middle pillar. I don't know. The middle bolt, which secures everything from end to end. Just as the middle bolt in the tabernacle secured and bolted together all the boards by passing through them all. Very good. In spiritual terms, this means that the attribute of truth passes from the highest gradations and levels to the end, the lowest of all grades. So forget the term, but it's pervasive or not. Yeah. In each gradation and level, it passes through the central point of that particular level. Which is, i.e., which then becomes the point in quality, i.e., the standard of that level's attribute of truth. Proof is now given that each grade has its own standard of truth, as it were. The attribute of truth is an unbounded inheritance. It has no upper limit as it extends to the highest levels. And all lower gradations and levels are as nothing compared with those superior to them. If then truth is found on all levels, despite their disparity, we must conclude that the standard of truth on each level is relative to the core of that level. In support of his statement that the lower levels and grades are incomparable to the higher ones, the Alter Rebbe cites, as is known to the students of Kabbalah, the quality that is the head and intellect, the highest level, within lower grades is inferior to the soles and feet, the very lowest level within the higher grades. As our sages say, the feet of the Hayot surpass them all. Those levels lower than them, including the highest degree within those lower levels. Within. Oh, I got you. Okay. The attribute of truth then is measured according to the standards of each level. We may thus conclude that the divine service of Beinonim is considered true. Is considered true service relative to their level. Although when compared with the service of Tzaddikim is not considered true, since it passes after prayer. All righty, that was chapter 13. I don't know if we're going to continue or not with 14. Don't know how long it is. I think we're going to leave 14 for next week.
Can we kind of discuss some of that a little bit? Because some of that was
Sure.
like
Oh, yeah.
towards the end was kind of over my head. I mean, I was like,
All righty,
well,
see you
wait a
guys
minute
next week. Bye.
here.
No, kidding. I'm totally just joking.
Too bad, so sad.
Yeah, no. Let's go back here. So, yeah, the
Yeah,
Hayot.
because like even when he was talking about the bolts, I went back to look at that, the footnote of 15 on that.
Yeah.
And I was like trying to understand that. I was like, wait, what? What does that have to do with the tabernacle? I don't understand. What does truth have to do with that? You know, so I kind of got lost in all of that. I was like, wait, what? You see that footnote? If you
Oh,
go down a
yeah.
bit more, 15 paraphrases of Exodus 26:28. And so this is about I think it's the rods that were overlaid with gold, and they were to stabilize the walls, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yes, right. They had three, I think, bolts. They had a top, a middle, and a bottom.
Right, and they were in the middle. So I was like trying to understand that. I was like, well, wait a minute. If this is a truth from end to end,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, the middle bolt that secures everything from end to end. Truth is the attribute of Yaakov. So what is he securing from end to end with his truth?
All
You see
those
what I'm
different
saying?
levels, yeah. Well,
Yeah, exactly. And then Dixie had made mention that it was the different, I think, did you say different worlds, Dixie? Truth of different worlds?
I'm not positive, honestly.
yeah, it's a different height, different
Different levels?
Levels. I'm
uh
trying to find it real quick.
It's what
yeah,
it
where
says
was it?
here.
It said it. I remember reading it.
It says, in the four is the truth to ferret, which is the sphere.
Periods levels right here.
Okay, that's right. That's
So,
right.
so this is so in all the myriad levels of the spiritual worlds.
That's right. From area of the very highest to the lowest. So that's just like those bars, upper,
Right.
middle, lower. Okay. Okay.
What the bars are, it says. Excuse me, Russell, you were
That's
talking.
okay.
Go ahead with yours.
No, it talks about. I was just here about these three bolts. It says the bolts secured the vertical beams of the tabernacle, an upper bolt, a lower bolt, and a middle bolt. Kabbalah juxtaposition them with the three alignments of the spherot, which is kind of what you was talking about, James. That
Pillars.
the right, the left, and the middle.
Yeah.
The right line is Hesed, the line of Abraham, and then is loving kindness to Abraham, Micah 7:22. The left is the line of Guvarot, a Guvarah, I mean, that of Isaac, and then
Aesop,
of course
wasn't
the
it?
middle is that of Jacob, the truth. It says here the truth to Jacob, Micah 7:20, and in the middle and in the midst of the beams was the middle bolt.
And
Teferet.
also, Russell, going on with that, what you're reading, it says the 3 sets of bars secured the vertical beams of the tabernacle. The upper bars, the lower bars, and the middle bars. Kalaba, oh Dixie, anyway, associates them with the 3 arrays of the Sephirot. Just like you said, Russell, the right array is Hesed, the kindness of Abraham. The left array is Gevurah, Yitzhak's attribute. And the middle array is that of Tiferet, the attribute of Yaakov. In the tabernacle, the upper and lower bars were fastened onto the outer face of the beams. Each bar had 2 sections, each of which extended halfway across the wall. The middle bar, by contrast, passed through an opening inside the beams and extended the entire width of the wall. In the spiritual realm as well, the middle bar, the attribute of truth, penetrates all levels from end to end.
Interesting.
It's in-
Okay.
It's in the
So
middle.
Yaakov was a direct line. It didn't have any bolts in between, basically. Anything to attach it. It was a direct line. Oh.
Mhm.
Okay, so that's what the Benoni's going through. Oh, wow. Okay, so something I was sharing with Teresa and in the women's study. Hold on a second. Oh.
That's what the tzaddik goes through, right?
Well, yeah, because the tzaddik. Okay, so something we learned. This was very interesting. I'm trying to understand this because of what we're learning here. Let me go back to it, see if I can find it. I think it was on page 108. Okay, so there's 3 different levels of sin. Okay, in the first level, where is this at here? Where is it? Where did it go? Where did it go? Where did it go? Maybe get the next page over. Let me look. Hold on just a second. Here it is. Page 107. Okay. So there's one level of sin, het. Okay, het. And then there's the next level of sin, avon. So het is basically your inadvertent error. Okay, that's what your tzaddik will do. He'll make an error and he won't even realize he's doing it. But when he does realize it, he repents immediately. Okay. Then the next one is the avon. It's intentional transgression. He knows he's not supposed to be doing it, but he does it anyways. That's the Benoni. He's struggling. He knows about the animalistic soul, and he's struggling to battle against that animalistic soul. So he's constantly going back to Hashem. He hasn't quite figured out his ego with it yet. Okay. And then you have this other level called Pesha. And this is this is like, how do I want to say, intentional, more than intentional, just like I'm just in complete rebellion. Okay. So the tzaddik errs in the Ket realm, the Benoni errs in the Avon realm, the transgression or the iniquity that sticks with you, that never goes away, because it's that one thing, that thorn that Hashem uses to keep you close to him. And that's why we struggle with that one thing over and over and over. And we just keep going back to Hashem with it, right? But the Pasha is the Rasha. It's that wicked thing that he just refuses to let go of. He doesn't even go to God with it. And so with this whole truth thing, I'm seeing the Benoni is struggling with this truth where the tzaddik goes, oh, I understand this. He's got this direct connection where the Benoni has the connection, but he's got this thing that's stuck in the way. It's the bolt system. It's making sense to me now. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yep. It does to me.
Yeah,
I'm like,
and-
oh my goodness. Now I'm understanding the implications of the Benoni, what the Benoni, and most of us have that type of a thorn.
right, right. And where is this? Where are you reading this from, Mercy?
Well, that's just kind of something that I'm getting from, but this is coming,
Oh,
that's just something I'm getting, but it's coming from both these lessons.
oh, okay. A different. Oh, I got you. I got you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
So
that-
this is called reversing the downward cycle of sin, right? So
Right.
how do you reverse it? You have to know what it is.
Know what's going on. You got to know your enemy, so to speak.
Yeah, and you have to know those three levels of sin, and we're learning the three different levels, right? We're
Mhm.
not just the sin, but the characteristics behind it. The tzaddik,
Yeah.
who is completely able to make the tikkun, right?
Mm.
And even
Oh,
though he falls, he can make the tikkun.
Mhm.
Where the Benoni is struggling to make the tikkun, and the Rasha could care completely less about it.
mhm.
Doesn't even care. So that's kind of interesting to me. So for me, it's like personally, I want to understand the Benoni. I want to understand how can the Benoni become a tzaddik. I don't care about the Rasha anymore. I just want to, how can the Benoni become a tzaddik?
Right.
That's what I'm curious about. And I'm hoping that this lesson in the
I might
Tanya will share that.
alter. We might get there. I don't know.
And I'm also wondering if we're learning it from two uh, uh, perspectives.
Mhm.
From the Rebbe, which is Ashkenazi, right?
Mhm.
And then from Abraham Sutton, which is Sephardic.
Yeah.
I guess
Wow.
the terminologies are just they mean the same thing, but the words are just a little different.
The
I don't know.
I don't know. The Siddur kind of follows more of the Sephardic and the ties to the RE and things like this. Like I've never did research on it. I've just like heard things. And it actually has ties more with Sephardic in a lot of ways.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah. But but that's as far as I can tell you. That's like as far as I can just from what I've heard, which isn't much, unfortunately, but so
The Benoni, I mean, not the Benoni, the Tanya is very intrinsic. It's really deep
yeah,
and hard
Mhm.
to understand at times.
right. Yeah. He goes over it and over it and over it. It's like for me, one thing I notice is like he will refine and refine and refine till you get it. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure I understand it. And as soon as you understand that what he was talking about for the past week or two, he drops something new on you.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh my goodness, there's something new I got to chew on that I don't fully understand. And then the next week or the week after, he'll go, the next chapter, he'll talk more about that one and let it refine more. And then he starts connecting the dots, and it's like, oh yeah, okay, I understand. Then he drops another something on you.
So basically, what, since chapter 11, was it, or chapter 12, where he's been talking about these
I think
three,
it's 11.
is it chapter 11 where he's been talking about these three characteristics, right?
Mhm.
And it seemed like he focused more on the tzaddik in the beginning and the Benoni, well, a little bit on the Rasha, not too much, but now
Yeah.
it's like the focus is really on the Benoni.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
That's
might
what
have to go back and reread this chapter again just to get more clarity.
well, let us know if
Yeah. But James, I found the word what the Rabbi Steinsaltz translated as
oh
ascendancy. Ascendancy.
oh
What does
So
that mean?
which is power dominance. I guess it's where they where this rabbi got the word might from.
hmm
Oh,
So it
I don't
seems that that is a word that kind of falls in that uh, category, of dominance, might, power.
a struggle, huh?
you know, maybe strength. I don't know if that's one of the words.
Do you think that that's like the
Right here.
dominance of struggle, or
So what does it say? What does it say here?
Right here.
The
that's the
strength
left
and
side of
might.
the-
So here it says strength and ascendancy over the animal soul.
Oh,
And then it
wow.
goes then it goes on into here and it says in the source of Guvara, which is Bina, understanding, through pondering on the greatness of God, the blessed Ein Sof, the infinite one, thereby generating intense and flaming love of God in the right part of the heart. So what I'm gathering from reading the Steinsaltz here is this is not a translation. This is
Total commentary.
no, it's not total commentary.
Like a
And
like
I know he likes to fit his commentary into what he's translating, but he usually shows a difference within the font when he does such a thing. In his other books, you know, there's a clear, I know where the text is and I know where his commentary is, but here he's it's in a, and then he goes on, and then when it says it goes into the commentary in this book, he breaks it down, you know, segment by segment, and which is a different colored font at that point, a different font, and he elaborates on it, you know, quite a bit. It's just so, and that would explain why the Hebrew's not in here. So I don't know. It's you know, you can't, I mean, it'd be very, very difficult to quote the Tanya from this book.
Oh,
From what
right,
but even though you can get insights on it, and I can follow along with it, you know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But there's a lot of added stuff in here that is, because that explains this problem I have, is why do I have so many more
Pages.
words, you know, pages, obviously, but I have so many more words when with what I thought I was reading was the text alone, and it's not the text alone.
Russell, is it the text in Hebrew alone? Do you know?
No, there's this is all English, and what I'm reading from now, we're in the book, we're in the second book, learning from the Tanya. And so I've got this book here. It's called Learning from the Tanya. I don't think, is that what you have, Dixie?
No, I've got Likutei Aram 1 through 32 Steinschiltz Center, the Steinschiltz Tanya.
Okay, this is something different. This is learning from the Tanya, which the Tanya's in it. He's just elaborating on it, and then he goes from that elaboration into further elaboration. But it's the Tanya's in it. It's just not distinguishable.
But your three books are chapters 1 through 24, correct? Where our book right here, the first volume is 1 through 24.
Yes, I have three books. That's
Just to confirm, you'd like to call 324.
And mine is 1 through 32, the one I have.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
There's a
Did you
different
restate the question?
translation that uses strength and might as well, but strength and might is not strength is proper, but not yeah, it's just one of those things I think that gets lost in translation.
yeah. So I have these three books that I have. I have Knowing the Tanya, Learning the Tanya, and Understanding the Tanya. Is just the first 37 chapters.
Oh, 37 chapters.
And that's all that's here from these 3 books. And they're very hard to come by. I probably have, these things, I probably got over $300 in these 3 books.
Oh my.
And the bad thing about them, when they came out in the early 2000s, I bought them all for about $25 a piece.
Yeah.
Decided to give them to a friend, and then decided that I wanted to have them back. And by that time, they're all out of
15
print.
years later.
Yeah, 15 years
wow.
later, they're out of print, and you can't get them, and you can barely find them.
Wow.
Gosh. Mm.
Hmm.
Hey, James, you got the Tanya I sent you, didn't you?
Oh yes, thank you. Did I not tell you?
You probably did. I just don't
Oh,
remember.
yes,
So,
thank you so much. It's on my shelf. And thank you so much. I told my kids about it. I showed them. Of course, I showed Danielle, and yes, it is on our shelf, right where we sit and eat dinner.
and I sure you read it every day.
Well, I don't read that one necessarily every day, but
I'm kidding. I'm
yeah,
kidding. 'Cause
but
it's
it
all
is
true.
no, it's yeah, we got it on our shelf right in our where we sit and eat dinner, our dining room.
I'm sure you did, but I don't remember things.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh my goodness, no, I thank you so much. If I didn't, which I thought I did,
Thank
but
God. Don't thank
yeah.
me. That was really a gift from God
Oh
for all
my
of us. I
goodness,
mean,
yeah,
for Jack and
yeah,
whoever that for the synagogue. So just
yeah,
thank him. It wasn't
right.
nothing of me. So
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you thinking of us and sending it to us. It's definitely a keepsake for us.
well, hopefully it'll help you too with your Hebrew.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
I mean, I would think comparing what they've written in the Hebrew to kind of even what you're studying would be interesting.
Right. Maybe I should go look and see what they say for this one, because I think if I remember correctly, it was a slightly different version of what I had before. So it's would be interesting to see because I don't have that particular print,
Mhm.
well, I do now, but so yeah, I really
Yeah,
appreciate that, Dixie.
well, it'd be interesting to see with that one, what this one and what Russell's, if they're all, different or what.
Right, right. Yeah. Well, thank you very much. And so I don't know if you want me to tell people, but Dixie and Jack had a, a book that they helped print, basically.
No, it don't matter. No, it's just from God. And,
Yeah.
there is only 24 or 50 of them in print. That's it.
Wow.
That's all that's printed. So it does not do any good to tell anybody because they can't get a copy.
Uh, well, I appreciate it. It's like limited edition.
It is a limited
That's
edition printed to
awesome.
Telluride, Colorado in the mountains.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
It's an honor to have it. Well,
Honor to be able to get Jack's name in it. That was
yes,
honor
that
of
was
Baruch Hashem.
yeah, thank God. Baruch Hashem. Well, so we finished chapter 13 and we will begin, God willing, chapter 14 next week. And see you all there, God willing. So thank
Shabbat
you.
Tov. Thank you.
Tov.
Oh,
All
Thank you,
right.
everyone.
Love and Tov. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Hey, take care, Paul.